Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Codit webinar titled Making Agentic AI Work, Building on Integration. Now, Agentic AI has been buzzing quite some while already, as it's been seen as the next step in automation. We covered this broader theme already in one of our previous webinars, so if you're interested in that one, I invite you to have a look on our website and replay that. Today, we're going to take it one step further. We will focus on how Agentic AI becomes one of the latest evolutions within enterprise integration, how agents really connect with your data, with APIs and processes within the Azure platform. Now, for today, our host is Michel Pauwels. Michel is a data integration lead at Codit. He has been working on quite some interesting and various integration projects. So I think it's the right man on the right place for today. Now, before we get started, should you have any questions during this webinar, I invite you to use the Q&A tool that you will find in your console. Michel will have a look at your questions at the end of this webinar, so he can answer these live. With that said, Michel, over to you.
All right, thank you, Francis. So the purpose of this webinar is to take a bit of a look at the agent loop framework in Logic Apps. So I'm going to skip over everything that's related to Logic Apps and immediately dive into what agents are in Logic Apps and how you can work with them. But first, let's take a look at the integration architecture. It's an architecture that's always an evolution, maybe not in very big steps that you can see, but it's always something that has been evolving. We have seen it occur over the past couple of decades and are now experiencing this new iteration that involves AI. And it's important to understand that the introduction of AI, such as RAG, so retrieval augmented generation, and agents, is a new evolution for integration. RAG is an AI framework that combines two techniques. First, it allows you to retrieve relevant information from external sources, can be databases, documents, even the web. And once this information is gathered, it is used to then inform and enhance the generation of your responses. This approach is capitalizing on the strengths of both retrieving and generation techniques that AI models have. And it ensures that the responses are always accurate, relevant, and driven by contextually enriched data. And then an agent takes the power of that generative AI a step further, because it will, instead of just assisting you, they can also work alongside you and even on your behalf. Agents can do a whole range of things, from just responding to simple questions to more complicated or even multi-step assignments. And what sets them apart from a personal assistant is that it can be tailored to have a particular expertise. So agents represent an opportunity to address certain use cases that historically we haven't been able to achieve with the existing technologies, especially in integration. I will get to that a bit later on what agents can do for you now that they are available in the Azure integration services. So when we think about Azure Logic Apps and the AI strategy, there are actually three core areas of focus. On the first area, it's reshaping those business processes. It will enable your developers to build solutions that can use automation and AI to build things that they couldn't do before. And it also can be used to optimize your operations. It can reduce the toil in managing and monitoring solutions by having AI assist you in this operational optimization. And last but certainly not least, especially for a developer, enhancing developer experiences. So developer productivity can be improved through the use of AI-assisted development tools like GitHub Copilot, especially with all the MCP servers that you have, which Logic Apps can act as an MCP server as well. Your developer experience is very much enhanced lately. But okay, we're talking about agents, but what are agents? If you take a look at agents, there are actually three different levels of sophistication that are included. On the very simple part, we have just simple retrieval. They retrieve information from databases, from knowledge bases in maybe your ITSM tool. And then if we go a step further, they are also able to perform certain steps or a series of steps upon demand. And the completely advanced autonomous agents, well, they represent solutions that will be able to run completely on their own and also execute a plan by orchestrating sets of tools with an LLM into it. So all agents have just a varying degree of complexity, and depending on your needs, you will maybe just have a very simple retrieval agent or a more autonomous agent. But even within those autonomous agents, well, yeah, we also have to take a look at the levels of AI transformation that we are seeing, and we see 3 different levels. So it is a very progressive journey, and it should be approached in a very methodical manner to ensure that you can adopt and support the AI solutions without introducing any risks to your organization. You don't want to go to level 3 immediately and not know what they can do and how they can assist you. So let's take some baby steps. And if you take a look at all the different levels, well, at level 1, you have humans with assistants where you just chat, like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, you initiate the communication and you just get a response back. More practical example, level 1 is you asking Copilot, hey, what present should I buy for my 10-year-old niece who likes science? It will suggest you a couple of ideas, but you are still the person making the final decision and doing the shopping. Then let's step level up to level 2, where we have human-led agents, where agents are able to do autonomous tasks, but humans are looped in as they are required for just oversights or decision-making. Let's take the example again. Your AI agent not only suggests gifts, but also searches online on web shops and compares prices and prepares some kind of shortlists. And you pick the favorites to do the purchase, and your agent is able to also do the purchase and maybe inform you when something is out of stock. And then the level 3 of agents, that's just a team where humans and agents are almost equal. It's a very advanced configuration, and they can coordinate amongst themselves or with looping in humans when required. This is, as we could call it, friendship as a service. Your agent will keep track of birthdays, some preferences of the people, know which past gifts you have bought for each family member, and then it will ask a different agent to purchase a certain gift. And it can also do some delivery for each special occasion, like birthdays, anniversaries. And the only time that you should be involved is when there's something unusual, there's a new family member, or there's an issue with the delivery. So those are the 3 different levels of AI transformation that we are seeing. How can Azure help you in this? So Azure offers you a completely integrated platform for building those applications that can include apps and data, but also those AI services. Each platform component, they use Azure's robust security capabilities, and they give you some governance and responsible AI principles as well. But in the middle, highlighted there, is the Azure Integration Services. The Azure Integration Services include Logic Apps, API management, and they enable customers to leverage all the other tools when building AI solutions. Okay, so we know that Azure Integration Services can be used to build an agent. But what do you need to actually build an agent? What are the key components for agent building? Well, on the bottom, you have a foundational model. And that's where it all starts. You select which appropriate large language model or LLM that you want to use to provide the intelligence for your agent. That's your baseline. But of course, your baseline, it also needs some extra knowledge, needs some grounding. And that is where the knowledge, that's extra information that your agent has access to. It can include previous iterations of, in this case, of the agent loop, of your agent loop. And it can also get existing information from Word documents, knowledge bases from tools, or even search in different databases. So we have our model is smart now. It has its foundational knowledge, it has its grounding knowledge, it has some memory from other iterations, but it also needs to be able to do things. And that's where these tools come in. Those are the components that your agent can then leverage to accomplish certain tasks. It can be Logic Apps connectors, custom code, different workflows, or even APIs. Okay, so we have our model that can do tasks now, and now we have to think. Okay, how autonomous do we want our model to be? It can either be in a feedback loop or completely triggered by an autonomous agent or an autonomous task. So it depends a little bit on what you have to do. But in Logic Apps, we can use various triggers for this. On top of it, we need a user experience optionally. So especially when building a conversational agent, you want to have some chat widget to be able to communicate with your agent. So that at least you can tell it to do things, that it can ask you for extra information. Especially in conversational agents, this is an important part. But what brings it all together? That is the orchestrator. So it brings the complete solution together, and it will orchestrate the execution of all the components and the tools in order to accomplish the goal that you have asked it to do. And in our case, the orchestrator is Logic Apps. So in Logic Apps, we now have the agent loop. It's a capability that allows you to build AI agents that can leverage an LLM of your choice, so the foundational model, and interact with your data and systems, so your knowledge, through those hundreds of connectors that you have as the tools or other workflows. So it provides you with an orchestration platform for workflows that are ideal for any business process. It can now do predefined paths, but with the agents, it can also now use reasoning and use actions and do more non-deterministic processes, where in the past we were stuck to a fixed deterministic workflow. So it is not something that will completely replace everything. It's just an evolution of the Logic Apps tool. So whether you choose workflows or agents, it's not a very gray, black or white decision. It can be a bit of a gray zone. Because in practice, what we see is that most of these intelligent systems, they are going to be a combination of workflows and agents, and it will depend on your practical use case. So Agent Loop is going to be a game changer because it will allow us to do things that we could not do before. And you can use it with a trusted platform that you already know, being the Azure Integration Services. So historically, Logic Apps has supported those deterministic workflows. They enable a very repeatable and consistent business process. It's going through it step by step, and it's an approach that works very well. But the downside of it is that each process has to be very codified in order for the process to be able to be automated. And inevitably, there will be a time where it's just not feasible to keep up with all the complexity or be able to schedule all the implementation of all the processes that you need, and you will remain with some manual work. So There may be situations where the requirements can't be put into code, as it's more of a judgment call that is needed. This also, again, leads to a manual process, and manual processes always lead to a lack of productivity. And that is where agents can help you. So where we can automate business processes based upon just a business goal and the objectives. And given that objective, the agent can use a large language model. They can use the tools and the knowledge to then orchestrate this business process in a very loosely coupled manner. And should any additional processes emerge, it may be very easy to implement this by just changing your prompt and update your knowledge or add any additional tools to enable your agent to perform new tasks. Okay, so as I said, it's not a yes or no question on whether to use agents or a deterministic workflow. When should we be using agents? Well, there are situations where it makes sense, like when we are working with very unstructured inputs. Let's say that you are working with an order intake process that works through email. Somebody will say, hey, I want to order 10 boxes of Oreo cookies, and another person might email you and say, I want 10 times that same box that I ordered last time. Okay, an agent would be able, with its knowledge that it has from your emails, be able to find what the previous order was and be able to perform that order. That's not something that can be very easily put into code. It can't very easily be codified. So when these judgment calls are normally required by a human, well, now we can have agentic workflows to do the work for you, making it a bit easier on your business processes. But when do we use workflows? Well, we still have situations where it just makes more sense to use workflows. There are some of the reasons, like it's very industry regulated, there are transactions, there are fixed schemas, it's a very predefined interaction. It is something that needs to be predictable, something that needs to be repeatable. And of course, at this moment, with the processing power that we have, these deterministic workflows are just better in high throughput scenarios. Same with the context window that we have in LLMs. Yeah, if we have a very large payload, even though the context window is already quite large, you pay for it every time. So calls to a model, they always cost money. So you should really understand how AI can benefit you before implementing it everywhere. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so I spoke about what Logic Apps can do for you, when you should use agentic workflows or when you should use deterministic workflows. But these agentic workflows, they need tools. Oh, not far. So tools are very important in this AI solution. And we can use some of the Logic Apps features as tools. So 1,400 okay. There are more than 1,400 connectors built in, either on Azure or managed inside the Logic Apps standard runtime. Your existing workflows, they can also be used as tools. So in this case, you can create child workflows and use that as a tool in your agentic workflow. There's obviously also the option to use custom code that you are hosting either in Logic Apps or in Azure Functions that you can call in the solution, and you can call it from your workflow. Nowadays, almost everything has an API, especially a lot of SaaS tools, and API management can be used to provide you with a great place to manage, govern, and protect all those APIs that you have. And you can plug it into the agentic ecosystem by using the API management connector, for example. But of course, your agent needs knowledge, and it can be leveraged in a few different ways by retrieving documents from SharePoint through the connectors that you have, reading something from blob storage, or even performing a search against a database. So, we have all the tools available in Logic Apps out of the box by just what Logic Apps used to provide us previously. But historically, when we had Logic Apps, all those inputs were very static. And with the new agents, we have we need to be able to have more dynamic type of tokens. So there's a new option when you are using agentic workflows. Those are agent parameters. So a token or an agent parameter needs to be picked from either previously instantiated runs, or it needs to be something that's assigned from data that gets retrieved. And you can just see it as a different parameter on every part of a tool that you want to call. So there's also not a very pre-described order in which those tools are executed. So an agent parameter, it will also tell the agent loop framework, okay, if I want to execute this tool, then I need to know what my input should be. For example, that we have here, we have on the left tool to resubmit a certain message. Well, we need to know which workflow we need to resubmit it for. So we need to define the parameter first, and then in the tool that we are calling, we have to give it the certain workflow. We can do that as well with the new agent icon to select certain parameters. So what about your data? Data becomes very important when building those AI solutions. And what we want to avoid, especially, is garbage in, garbage out scenarios. So as an organization, you need to ensure that you have your data organized in order to use it efficiently in agentic workflows. So it all starts with a very strong strategy where, if you have your strategy set, then you can go very fast in implementing all the various agentic workflows that you want to do. So you need to structure, you need to categorize your data. Okay, this is sensitive data, this is non-sensitive data. We can use this for internal purposes only. We can use this for external purposes. And this is not a one-time thing. This is something that you have to regularly do audits on the security and on who can access it. But think of it as that your data is your knowledge. And the more data that you have and the better quality your data is, then your knowledge becomes a lot better for your agent models. So keep in mind that you don't want to pass any large data or very large data sets to your models at runtime. Let's not give it the entire works of all the ancient philosophers at once to get to your answer. Just think about which data is needed for your agent workflow to work correctly. And the larger your payload, of course, you require more tokens. And as we said before, the more tokens that you use, the more expensive that your workflow run will become. So what can your agent do? But you should also be aware that you are in control of what your agent can do. And also, you're in control what your agent can't do. If you don't give it access to a certain system, or you give it only read access, then you're fine. Your agent won't be able to update your systems without you allowing it that it has that access. It's also very important. A very important part is prompt engineering. It's something that requires some investment. It requires some practice. When something is not working, just you will have to change the prompt and not the code. It's just when you are asking something to your Copilot as well, maybe you don't get the question, you don't get the answer that you expect. That's probably because you gave it the incorrect prompt. So prompt engineering is something that becomes very important with these agents as well. Okay, so you can determine what your agent can do. You can determine what it can't do, but what do I know what it is? How do I know what it is doing? Well, Logic Apps has provided you with a couple of methods. The run history of a Logic App, we have the step-by-step walkthrough that we still have. You can see the inputs, you can see the outputs. On the right, you will also have the agent chat, which shows you every message that came through, both incoming and outgoing, and also shows you which tools were used for certain agentic decisions. And with the business process tracking that we have in the integration environment, you can also see business data, be able to track it to a certain business process in your Logic Apps. So it allows you a way to expose that data to business stakeholders and your audience. Great. Logic Apps has agents now. Does that mean that I have to throw away my existing Logic Apps investments? No, actually, certainly not. The fact that you are using Logic Apps means that you are already a step ahead of being able to work with agents. You have the existing skills. You also have certain solution components in your solution already that can be used as a tool. So your developers, they can just bring their existing skills, and even for the new developers, it's a very low barrier to be able to build new agents. So certainly you don't have to throw away your existing investments. Okay, great. I can build agents, but why should I use agents together with Logic Apps? Well, I think it speaks for itself a little bit. From a tool perspective, we have more than 1,000 connectors, both Microsoft first-party connectors and third-party connectors that can run on premises, or you can even build your own. Your existing investments in workflows, deterministic workflows that you have written, you can reuse them. Your team, it does not have to learn a lot of new skills. It can use its existing skills and continue and improve them on the new agent workflows. Logic Apps has a very enterprise readiness level. It's been used for years now. It's a unified platform, whether you host it on premises or in the cloud or in a hybrid model. We have VNet support, we have private endpoint support, so we can connect to your data wherever it runs. It's very auditable through the run history that we have, the chat method tracking that we have, the business process tracking. So it's very easy with what we have in Logic Apps already to see what your agent is doing. And of course, we have the code development. In a sort of preview, we have code for workflows, and we also have the possibility to write custom code as an extension to your Logic Apps. Okay, great. That was it for some theory. But it's always better to see what we are doing. So I have a small demo prepared where our Logic Apps agent will act as some kind of IT support engineer. It needs to be able to do a couple of things for IT support intake. It needs to be able to create a ticket, update tickets, close tickets. Maybe it can even send emails. But before it can do that, we need the tools for it. We need to give it a prompt. And of course, this agent needs to know if I get question A, then what do we need to do? And that is in this knowledge runbook that we have as well. So let me quickly switch to my Logic app over here, where we will see the same designer that we are used to, just with an agent added into it. This is a conversational agent, which has a trigger called when a new session starts. This can also be used for agent-to-agent implementations, where we have the agent URL and a specific API key. I'm happy that it's not visible completely over here. Okay, and here we have this agent model. So in the backend, I have deployed a GPT 4.1 model on an Azure OpenAI service, and we have given it a prompt. This prompt is just the instruction, what it needs to do. So it's an operations agent. It needs to help the IT team with their incidents. And we have said, okay, in order to proceed, you need to know a couple of things. You need to capture an error message from the user, ask which team that it's for, and you will get some extra instructions from a get operational playbook tool. Okay, so we have told the agent how it should act. And that when it's done, it can log a certain incident in the ITSM tool. Okay, great. Let's try it out. Let's go to the chat. Let's create a new chat. My database, call it SIP, is offline. Now the agent is thinking a little bit. Okay. And it asks me, could you provide me the error message and which team or group that it should be assigned to? So exactly as it was instructed, now it's asking me to provide that information. I'll just say database is offline. Okay, just give it something. And now, okay, it still needs some extra information because I have only given it my first piece of the information. I only answered to the first question. And now I will say that it needs to be assigned to the database team. Okay, so my agent has received all the information from me now, and now it is generating some responses. It gives you the plan on how it will address this issue. And it got this information from this operational runbook. This is just a Word document with some steps. Okay, so these are the steps that it will use. It will log a ServiceNow incident. It will give the resolution steps which it got from that operational runbook, and it will give it, it will assign it to the database assignment group. Okay. Second response, the incident has been logged in ServiceNow and assigned to the database team. And I have a ServiceNow ticket number in here. Let's copy this and go over to ServiceNow. So it was 04 that we had. Let's refresh. And we see that my database offline ticket has been created and it has been assigned to the database assignment group. So completely autonomously, I was able to chat with an agent, and nobody else was in the middle. Nobody was behind the scenes creating this ticket over here. It was the agent doing all the work. Let's take a look at how it did this by going to the run history. And here we can see that tracking a little bit again what happened. So on the right, I have my agent chat log where I can review everything that happened. So I asked it, my Codit database, Codit SIP database is offline. We see the response. Okay, it was asking, okay, I need some extra information. I gave it that information. And then we see that it executed a certain task to get the operational runbook. That's the second task that it executed. Let's see over here. There we go. Yep. And now we see that on this step, okay, these agents were executed, or these tools were executed. It got the document from blob storage. It was able to parse this document. And then, okay, in the document instructions, it was able to fetch the resolution steps. And now we need to create the incident. Okay, we create the incident. That's the second task that was, or the second tool that was executed for this task. And here we see that it has executed a tool. And the tool, okay, it's a workflow, so it's a logic app workflow. We gave it a database, the assignment group, gave it a description, a date, just the current date, and some resolution steps. And last, it just replied, okay, fine, this is what we have done, and it has given me this incident number as well. If you take a look at how this is built, okay, so we already saw the prompts over here. The get operational runbook tool, it's always very important for each tool that you add that you give it a descriptive name and some extra description information. Because based on all this information, that's extra knowledge, your LLM will be able to make the correct decisions and execute the right tools in every scenario. Here in this case, there are no parameters to be used, but if you take a look at the creation of a certain incident, well, here we have a couple of parameters that are some agent parameters that are used. So we have the create service now incident. Again, I'll give it a certain description. And for every parameter, we also have the same things again, because again, this is extra input that your model needs to be able to use the tool. So we have an assignment group, which is just a string. It's assignment group in service now that the ticket should be assigned to. This is something that it asked me. It needs a description, the error message. The resolution steps is not something that I gave it, but it was able, because it's looping, it's going iteratively from the operational runbook. It got the information and was able to pass it as a resolution steps to this tool. Same for the severity. Okay, then calling the tool itself. So it's a workflow. This workflow has a couple of parameters that we need to give. And here we see the new, I'm going to remove this one so that I can show it. Here we see the new agent parameters over here. I can click on it and say, okay, this is the assignment group that I want to give. And this is the same parameter that comes from here. So this logic app, this workflow now has all the tools that it needs. If we go back to the workflows here, a very simple, the create incident workflow, the tool, it's one that you know from many other scenarios in logic apps. Just when an HTTP request happens, we fetch some information, we create a new record, and we also give it a response. And this response is then used by the LLM or by the agent. It's what we saw in the response. It was able to provide me with the ticket number that was created. Okay, so I also mentioned that the information from the conversation is also something that can be used. Let's say that the database access has been restored. I'm just going to mention that, and because it has the context from the chat, it will know which ticket number I am talking about. So I'm talking about the 004 over here. Let's just say, please close the ticket as the database access has been restored. Okay, ticket has been closed, and let's take a look at the actual status. And now we see that incident 004 has been closed. It's because the agent still had this information. But that's not always the case. So let's just say, please update my tickets as the database access has been restored. This is a completely new chat, so it has no previous knowledge from the chat, and now it's smart enough to know that, okay, when closing a ticket, I need the ticket number, because that's an agent parameter, and any specific nodes. I will say that this ticket can be closed, so the 001. So ticket number is 001. Database access was restored after reboot. Now it thinks, okay, it's just an update. Yes, it can be closed. So it asks me, do you want to actually close it? Yes. Okay, no problem, has been closed. Let's take a look at this as well. At the 001, we see now that it's closed as well. If we open it up, come on. Yes. Here we see in the notes, okay, it was closed, issue, database access was restored after a system reboot, and closing a ticket. So without any human interaction, everything was being able to find the data and also close the tickets again by just providing it with some extra information. How did this agent know that it needed this information? Well, that was just because of those parameters. Here we had the tool that will close the incident, and it needs some resolution nodes and a ticket number. So the agent was smart enough to ask for that ticket number so that it could actually close the ticket that was created previously. All right, that was it for the demo. For the next steps, then we can either schedule a one-on-one session with any of our integration and AI specialists. We can discuss your current landscape. We can discuss your challenges that you have, and also spot any opportunities where we can apply agentic AI in your current enterprise. So through a short, structured proof of concept program, you will define your business case, design the architecture, and build a working prototype to validate any impact or feasibility of the agentic workflows. Okay, over to the Q&A.
With that, let's have a look at the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A tool that you see. Michel, I have seen there are 2 questions at the moment.
Okay.
So first question, the conversations within an agent, are they stored somewhere in a database?
Yep. So the conversations are not stored in a database as such, it's just the logic app tracking that happens. So the normal logic app retention is in place. You can put it from 1 day to up to a maximum of 365 days. So it's not stored in a database separately.
Thanks. And another question here is, imagine that I'm having already existing workflows. What are things to consider when I want to add agentic AI to existing ones, and not really new?
To an existing workflow, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So some things to consider are, of course, okay, what are my inputs? Is my workflow able to be called from an agentic workflow? So is it HTTP enabled, for example? Can it be used as a tool? Those are some things to always keep in mind.
Okay, thanks, Michel. I don't see at the moment any further questions. So I'm going to wait for a few seconds. Okay, another question, Michel.
Okay.
Another look. what are the Microsoft license or consumption costs components?
Yeah, so there are a couple of components to keep in mind. One is your Azure OpenAI service. So based on your usage, on the amount of tokens that you use, that's a consumption that will increase. That's something that we can also investigate through a proof of concept. So that's the OpenAI part. This, of course, can be used by other services in your organization as well. It's not scoped to just the agentic logic apps. And you also need your logic apps standard plan. That's also something that you will need. It does not work with logic apps consumption. It always works with logic apps standard. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Great, thank you. And another question, which is more like on the training, are the models that are used trained on inputs that we deliver?
Input that's delivered from the customer email.
Yes.
So by default, the model that I used now was in OpenAI, just one of the base models that was in OpenAI. So in the Azure OpenAI services, so GPT 4.1. You can, of course, provide it with your own custom models, and then you can call that from your agentic logic apps.
Okay, thank you, Michel. I don't see any questions anymore, so I think we can conclude this this webinar. Now, should you have any more questions, you can, of course, contact us. You will all get a link and a follow-up email on this webinar. So just hit the reply button and we will be able to provide you with an answer. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attendance and enjoy the rest of your day.